day. We're in the car finally. A little bit behind schedule, but it's going to be okay. We really don't have a far walk in this morning. We're in a new spot. It's early season. It's going to be open for us. It's going to be doe only to start, so we're going to have to harvest a doe before we can start hunting bucks in this area. This area is overpopulated, so we've been enlisted to help get the deer population under control. So we're going to do that. We're going to start off, hopefully this morning we can harvest a doe, and then the rest of the day we'll be hunting. But it's 57 degrees now. It's warm to start. It's probably going to be a warm day. We're probably not going to do an all-day sit. We'll probably just wait till most of the morning's over and everything's kind of settled down, and then once everything's settled down, we'll probably come down out of our tree and come up with a game plan. I'm pretty sure I'm in the bedding area, so if we don't see anything this morning, I'm going to be shocked. We're going to have to come up with a little bit of a different strategy. Hopefully it's not us getting in that kept us from seeing anything, and if it is, we'll have to find a new way in, or we're going to have to find a new sit. So stay tuned. We were just covered up in deer for like 2 hours. Wasn't able to get a shot. Had one doe, 5 to 10 yards on my offside. I never could get around. Got a little bit of footage. The other group of deer walked in the same trail I walked in on. They weren't spooked, but they definitely got hung up. They never really came past 45 yards on that side. Never really felt comfortable with the shot. There's a limb that was kind of hanging where they hung up. Might be able to see it in the footage, but I just never was able to get a clean shot. It sucks to be that close and come up empty-handed, but sometimes that's the way it goes. Looks like there's still deer on their feet, so we might still get lucky. It's about 9 o'clock now. Things have settled down a lot. It's going to be a hot day, so looks like they definitely wanted to get back early to get bedded down in the shade. I think there might be some deer bedded down back here that walking in on my trail. They were wanting to come this way. See if we can get some B-roll of where they are. tell you what. Normally I just have like a turkey sandwich or like a peanut butter and jelly, egg, kind of smelly. They might have smelled our sandwich. Couldn't figure out what it was. Alright everyone, so update, still the 14th, we're going back in for the afternoon hunt. We weren't able to make it happen this morning. We were surrounded by deer. Deer came in downwind of us, they walked in on the trail we walked in on. It was a little unfortunate. We kind of got pinched. They knew something was up, they couldn't really put it together, so we were able to kind of keep them from figuring us out. They didn't spook, they didn't go crazy, so hopefully we'll still be able to get some deer back into the area for the afternoon. I did move my stand. I moved my stand a couple, I don't know, maybe like 40-50 yards, something like that. There's a nice little ravine coming in there. We're going to sit right along the ravine. We've still got a little bit of corn in the piles that we have there. Like I've said, we're hunting in an area where the population is a little bit higher. I don't normally bait, but in this instance, we're being told that it's you know, it's something they want us to do because they want to bring the deer numbers down. So they really want to have us harvest animals. So we're doing everything we can to bring them in. We'll see what happens. It's 80 degrees right now. It's 1:35. I should be there about 2 o'clock. We should be up in our stand, set and ready to go by 2:45, the latest, we'll say. Probably going to take my time getting back in there. Don't know what's really happened in the last couple hours, if anything moved around or maybe something's up on its feet, kind of moseying around. We'll see, but hopefully we can put it together tonight. We are back in the truck again. It's day 2. We weren't able to get it done day 1. That's fine. We saw deer though. We were covered up in deer. We had deer pretty much around us all morning. I would say for the better part of the early morning. They were probably close to us more so because they knew something was up. They couldn't figure it out. 4 deer came in on the trail I walked in on. 3 deer came in downwind of me. They kind of were just coming from all over. I mean, we knew we were going to be in a spot that was highly populated. So, I mean, maybe that was a contributing factor. I'm not really used to that. We're usually used to just pinpointing certain small groups of deer or a specific deer. And having to contend with just deer coming from everywhere was something that proved to be a little weird yesterday. So we'll make an adjustment. That'll be fine. Today we're going into a new area, so it's not going to be the same spot. It's a Sunday, so we have to hunt in a wildlife management area in this state. Not all of our public lands are wildlife management areas, so that kind of limits us to where we can go. I don't know why that thing is going off. My seatbelt's on. Anyway, we have to check that. So we'll see what happens. I've never hunted in this area before. This is actually a spot that's like right next to my house. It's been here for so long, and it just recently became a wildlife management area. So we're going to check it out. It's a bunch of open marshlands, swamplands, surrounded by some wooded areas. We're set up right on the edge, and we'll see if we can't see what's going on. It's going to be another observation sit, so even though we're hoping something comes in front, we're not really expecting it. Obviously, we put our stand in a spot where deer are going to be, where we have seen that they have been, so anything can happen, really. But 52. On the edge of a marsh. It's supposed to be an observation sit, but kind of limited in what we can see. So we're kind of relying on a lot of movement. It's very foggy. Alright, well, so, short sit this morning. Got some plans this afternoon with the family. Wanted to come in here and check this area out. I mean, it's beautiful scenery. I'm glad I got to see it. Nice marsh here. There's a little stream coming through here, right on the edge of these woods. We scouted it. Looks good. I mean, we saw trails coming through here. You know, as a deer hunter, we see that and we're like, oh, deer are using this. Look at all these trails. I mean, then we had 4 bears come through here. So, I mean, obviously other things can make the trails other than deer. We're optimistic in our scouting, but there's no way to know unless we see footprints. Good morning, everyone. Day 3, 52 degrees. Going back into the area that we have permission to hunt. We're going to try to get a doe down. In order for us to really benefit from having this early season, we've got to get a doe down. So we could have had some deer on the floor already if we would have had a better opportunity in the opening morning. We were surrounded by deer, never really was able to move to get a shot off. So today we're taking the crossbow in. Might be frowned upon by some, but you know, we're being tasked with lowering the population in this area, and we have to actually do it. So they don't really want to hear excuses. Not that I'm giving any, you know, but we're gonna bring the crossbow in this morning. Hopefully we can get it done. We can get some deer on the ground, and we can start hunting bucks. The last thing I wanted to do when I started filming was have to do a sit-down interview style, you know, summary of some events that had happened that I wasn't able to get on camera. What I will say is I have a newfound respect, which, you know, I expected there to be some difficulties, but I have a newfound respect for people who are self-filming. If you want to be self-filming, if you're looking to getting into self-filming, I would say do it. I mean, I've definitely found a sense of satisfaction in it, and I really enjoy doing it. That being said, there are going to be some hurdles that you have to get over, and you know, I'm not special, so I'm enduring them. I did think that maybe some of the experiences that I had seen other, you know, videographers and other hunters who are self-filming have, I thought I might be able to avoid some of those mistakes, but I'm seeing now that I think that there's an initiation process going along with this. And for me at least, I'm having to deal with some new problems that I didn't have before while in the tree, and I've had to kind of overcome some of these moments where I have the camera to deal with and I also have the hunt to deal with, and doing both at the same time has been proving to be, you know, a little bit more difficult than I had thought it would be. We all know that sometimes it can be very quick, the interaction between you and a deer that you intend to harvest, and you may or may only have, you know, a few seconds sometimes to pull a shot off. And, I've stated on the channel, and we have a podcast that I'm going to give you guys information on how to get into a little bit later. But you know, I'm not going to miss out on an opportunity to harvest just because of the camera. That being said, the harvests that I've had so far this year have not been limited to me having the camera to deal with. I could have gotten all my shots on camera, and I've had some difficulties. First and foremost being that the first shot that I was able to get on camera happened to be my camera. So, I was as you saw earlier in this video, we were hunting on opening day, and we had the camera set up. We were moving around, everything was fine. We had the compound bow in the tree with us. We're hunting a property that the township has enlisted us to lower the deer population, and there were a lot of deer in that area. I didn't expect there to be that many that early on opening day, but we were surrounded. I think we had like 8 or 9 deer encounters that first morning, and it was basically all at the same time. We were surrounded by deer, and having to draw the bow back, having to move around in the tree with the camera definitely limited us on being able to get a shot. In this property, our first doe of the year needs to be donated, and for the first 2 weeks of the season in New Jersey, which is where this hunt took place, you can only shoot bucks if you've harvested a doe first. So my thought process was, you know what, if I'm going to have that limitation where there's going to be maybe that many animals around to where I can't move and do this, my idea was, let me come in and get my first kill with the crossbow, not having to worry about drawing the bow back. I can put a clean, ethical, quick shot on a deer, and maybe even at a greater distance than I can with my crossbow, and then we can move on to hunting bucks, and we can be a little bit more choosy. It was a great idea. The next sit that I had, we had deer come in, and I was able to get a shot off. Unfortunately, my limb from my crossbow hit my camera, so I didn't get any of the footage on there. I didn't know if the camera had affected my shot, if it was a bad shot because the camera had gotten hit. My initial thought was, let me review the shot on the camera, and then I realized that that wasn't possible. When I got back to my house, I also had realized that the footage was corrupted, and I wasn't able to get any of the footage. It happened that my shot had just been deflected, and I actually was able to put an ethical shot on the deer. Me not knowing that I did that, I actually opted to go the safe route and enlist the services of a gentleman I know that's part of the club that I'm in to come with his dog and help me recover the animal in the next morning. We were able to recover the animal. There's going to be some footage of the dog recovering the doe. I did take a picture there, and I'm happy to have had that recovery. There was no predation on it. The animal was able to be recovered. I was able to donate the doe, so we're still able to fulfill our obligation in that aspect. And in that, hindsight being, we were able to get the doe, we were able to harvest the doe, we were able to give the donation, so everything worked out. We just weren't able to get it on camera. We did have a second interaction, which this is another aspect of filming, is in the low light situations. It was starting to get to be low light. In the back of my mind, I had known my wife and I were getting ready the following day to go to a destination wedding that was a couple hour drive away from us. So I didn't know if I wanted to even harvest anything that late in the day, knowing I would have to deal with it on a very short amount of time. On this channel, we're trying to bring you some of the DIY aspects to hunting. If you do harvest an animal, how difficult is it to skin and tan the hide, which is a video that I have planned for the future. If you don't want to tan the hide, how easy is it to just skin the animal? How easy is it to butcher the animal? What are the different steps that you need to take to be able to take on that task yourself, rather than take on the added cost of bringing the animal to a butcher, or having to pay them to butcher it for you, and potentially, if you have a trophy, mount the deer. Those thoughts going on in the back of my mind, knowing there was only a couple minutes left in the shooting light, I started to pack my gear. And what had happened in that moment was I was packing my gear up, and I ended up having a doe come in with, just a couple minutes left of shooting light left available. Now, I was gonna pass the doe, knowing that I had the obligation the following day, and knowing that it was going to be a task to butcher everything. The doe ended up being a piebald doe, which had a really cool, unique pattern to it. It had discoloration on its hide, and for that reason, I decided to harvest that animal. And unfortunately, I didn't get it on camera. Now, I do have a little bit of the recovery that I'm going to show, and we are going to show, a picture of the animal. But, there is some things that you need to take in consideration when you're filming. I'm now in the mindset where I'm not turning my camera off, I'm not packing my gear until 1 minute after legal shooting time. All of these harvests really kind of bring into picture, the story that we're trying to project onto our viewers, which is, this is the realities of self-filming. So, this wasn't intended, but, it actually does go in line with what our channel wants to provide, is we want to be able to show you guys the real story behind what it takes to be a self-filmer. There are going to be some difficulties, and it's not always going to be, easy to get footage and then put it together into a video. It does benefit you to have maybe a friend or somebody come in and film you, and then that's one less thing you have to worry about. But right now, Christopher and I are not taking that on. We're taking the task on ourselves, and, we're having to, deal with some of these things on the fly as we learn, and I'm sure we'll get better and we'll be able to bring you guys better quality footage, but you're going to see that learning process with us. A couple things that we have lined up for the future. Obviously, we've got this video's coming out, and we're going to show you guys a little bit more of the difficulties and what it would be to self-film, and if that's something that you're interested, we're looking forward to your feedback. I've also got a video coming up on a DIY target video, so we're going to have some materials that we're able to accumulate that we're going to be able to make ourselves a bow target, and we're going to be able to do some target shooting in the back, just help us with a little bit of our form, whether it's during the season, whether it's not in the season. I've expressed in the past that, early season I like to get aggressive, get into the bedding areas and try to find these deer, locate them, and a lot of times that's in some thick areas and I don't really have long shots. As we start to progress now, we're getting to the beginning of October, and then we're going to start getting towards the end of October, which is going to be the end of our extended bow season here in New Jersey. Actually, I think it extends into mid to late November. I think it's around the 20th of November. At that point, we won't really have a lot of leaves still on the trees. Some of that stuff is fallen down, and we can get longer shots. I tune my bow in the season to be able to take a lighter arrow, to be able to shoot further distances. So, there's a lot of uses for targets in season, not just only for practice before the season. As I told you, we have the piebald doe. We were able to harvest the hide off of that animal. I have some footage of me skinning it. I'm going to be putting together a video of what it would take to skin and tan your own hide, what are the processes that it would be, how hard is it something that we can do, what's the cost involved, and then a little bit of a spoiler, but we're recording this interview a little bit later in the season, and I'm putting this together for the first video on the channel for the 2024 hunting season. We do have a buck down in New Jersey. The Wing and Tail Outdoors does have a buck down. We're going to be putting that video together. That'll be coming out soon. That also kind of goes in line with a little bit what we're talking now, but we do have another video coming out. One of the other things I'd really like to do before we wrap this up is I'd like to thank the partners of the channel. I'd like to thank Gerald over at Andover Hunt and Fish. It's a outfitter out here in northern New Jersey. They've got everything that you need to be outdoors, from hunting, fishing. They've got shooting apparel. They've got live bait for your fishing needs. They've got used guns, new guns. They're an FFL dealer with a very reasonable price. They've got a bow tuning shop. They've got clothing. They've got lures. They've got everything that you need to get yourself out in the woods. You can get your license there, of course. And we just want to give a great shout out to them. They've been a real a big help to a channel. Everything from corn that we need to put out on areas where we're allowed to do that, and kayak stuff, camping stuff. I mean, I'm telling you guys, you name it, it's there. Another thing I'd like to tell you is about our podcast. We have a Wing and Tail Boys podcast that can be found on the Sportsman's Empire Network. We also can be found on Apple Podcasts, where if you like the content there, please feel free to leave us a 5-star review and a written review. We'd really like to know what you guys want to hear in your downtime when you guys are listening to the podcast. We're covering all of things outdoor related for the Northeast, starting from New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, everything up in the Northeast. We've got content coming from all over. We've got our buddy John, who's up in New Hampshire. We're going to be doing some hunts with him. He's got some hunting footage that he's going to be bringing to the channel as well. We're going to do some fishing. He's a big fisherman. He wants to do some fishing content, so we're going to do some fishing content with him as well. And we're going to involve all of New England. We're hoping to grow a community here with people from all over the Northeast, and we're going to have everybody get involved. So, come in, help us out let us know what you guys want to see, let us know what you guys want to hear, and we're going to be here for you guys. We also can be found on Spotify. If you find us on Spotify, if you could please leave us a 5-star review. And, thanks again, guys. Anything that you guys have that you guys want to share, please feel free to leave it in the comments. Leave a like, leave a detailed message on the comments below about what you guys liked about the hunting seasons, about the fishing seasons, any comments that you guys want to leave, or questions that you want answered, leave them down below. And if you could, hit that subscribe button, and we'll be coming to you again soon in another Wing and Tail Outdoors video. And remember, success is just a commitment away.